Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely chilling, true account of a mountain camping trip that just descends into absolute terror. We're unpacking a really detailed, first-hand experience from a traveler navigating the remote northern peaks of Pakistan. And look, this isn't just your standard campfire tale. It's a meticulous breakdown of what happens when your deepest fears of the unknown become an undeniable physical reality.
I want you to just think about this for a second. Imagine waking up in the pitch black of a remote mountain meadow, only to hear your kids laughing and playing just outside your tent. Sounds innocent enough, right? But here's the terrifying catch. You know for an absolute fact that your kids are locked safely inside your truck. Okay, so let's dive into this timeline and break down exactly how this night of unimaginable dread unfolded.
Section 1. The ultimate camping setup.
Now, to really grasp the sheer helplessness of this whole situation, you first have to meet our protagonist, Saqib. He is a highly experienced outdoorsman. He spent years navigating treacherous terrains, landslips, snowstorms, you name it. He takes his family out in this heavily modified vintage camper truck. We are talking oversized, ultra-thick tires, a high suspension to clear rough rocky terrain, heavy-duty winches, and massive bumpers. The back is basically a fully self-sufficient camper. It's got solar power, extra batteries, dry rations, medical kits, and he even carries a legal weapon for extreme emergencies. This intense physical preparation creates an immense, yet, as you'll see, ultimately false sense of security.
So you might be wondering, how does a guy this prepared lose total control? Well, let's trace the chronological tick-tock of this ordeal. They head out of the city at 9:30 p.m. just to avoid traffic. By midnight, they're deep into these uncharted mountain roads. Fast forward to 3 a.m., and the supernatural escalation peaks with an impossible doppelganger, leading to a desperate, completely silent escape at dawn.
Section 2. The dark mountain road.
So, hours into the drive, the comfortable paved highways completely disappear. They're replaced by a pitch-black, narrow dirt road hugging a sheer rock wall on one side and this terrifyingly steep drop into an unseen ravine on the other. Saqib had installed these super intense off-road lights, but as he actually noted, it felt like the darkness was heavier, literally swallowing the light. You can imagine the heavy tires just loudly crunching against loose mountain stones, and this really eerie unease starts to mount. Saqib, who normally memorizes routes perfectly, starts missing expected turns. It's like the geography itself just feels wrong.
Section 3. The Invisible Predator. Suddenly, the truck jerks to a violent halt. The blaring headlights illuminate this wolf-like animal frozen dead in the center of the dirt road. Saqib blays on the horn. But here's the crazy part. A wild animal should immediately bolt from blinding lights and a blaring truck horn, right? This one doesn't. Its hair is standing on end. Its front paws are dug deep into the dirt, and it's ignoring the truck entirely. Instead, it's staring off to the left into the dark, silent forest. It is utterly terrified of something lurking in the trees.
And then, the impossible happens. Rustling erupts from the dry leaves in the dark woods, and the animal's entire body is suddenly violently yanked into the air. It doesn't jump. It is physically lifted by an unseen, invisible force. It lets out this unnatural, agonizing scream, a sound of pure terror, and is violently dragged backward right into the dark trees. The family is just left there, paralyzed in the truck, staring at an empty road.
Section 4. Shadows in the meadow.
Shaken to their absolute core, they push forward and finally reach a high mountain meadow, this flat clearing way up in the peaks. Saqib locks the three children safely inside the reinforced camper truck, while he and his wife Aisha set up a small sleeping tent just outside. The silence up here is absolute. No wind, no bugs, just dead quiet. But as Saqib is heating up some food, that dead quiet is completely shattered. They hear crushed rocks echoing from the pitch-black ravine right next to the meadow. Then comes this unbearable tension. Slow, heavy, deliberate footsteps climbing straight up the sheer cliff face. Saqib grabs his powerful flashlight and shines it over the edge. For just a split second, a dark head briefly peers over, followed by a stone loudly rolling back down into the abyss. But there's no one there.
They retreat to their tent, fraught with anxiety. It's exactly 3 a.m. when Saqib is half asleep and vividly hears the sound of their tent zipper slowly opening and then closing. He snaps awake. His wife's sleeping bag is empty.
He rushes outside. In the dim light, he spots his wife, Aisha, walking silently toward the dark woods, her head bowed. He shouts her name, but she completely ignores him. He actually runs toward her, shining a bright flashlight directly on her back, but she doesn't even flinch. And then, a voice calls out from behind him. It's Aisha. His real wife is standing safely back at the camper trek door, terrified, asking him who he's yelling at in the dark. Saqib whips back around to the woods. The figure in the flashlight beam has vanished instantly into thin air. Retreating to the tent, completely horrified, they are subjected to a terrifying auditory phenomenon. In the dead silence, they suddenly hear a rhythmic thwack, thwack, thwack. It sounds exactly like an invisible axe striking a tree, moving closer and closer until it sounds like it's hitting a trunk right in front of Saqib. He goes out to confront whoever it is, but again, no one is there, and there isn't a single physical mark left on any of the trees.
Section 5. The voice mimics.
So, Saqib and Aisha somehow manage to drift into an exhausted sleep, only to be jolted awake in the pitch black by a sound that defies all logic. They hear the clear, distinct sounds of their children laughing and running around in the grass right outside the tent. They can even hear their older son's unique laugh, his slight pause for breath. Saqib moves to get up, but Aisha grabs his arm in sheer terror and whispers, "These are not our children." And she's right. Their actual kids are locked safely inside the reinforced steel truck. Whatever is outside is perfectly mimicking them.
The psychological horror reaches a literal breaking point here. Suddenly, from outside, Aisha hears her very own voice call out from the darkness, flat and eerie. "Don't go there, there's a ditch." And then Saqib hears his own voice respond, "Let them play, nothing will happen." I mean, imagine sitting in terrified silence inside a thin tent while an exact auditory replay of your own family plays out in the dark meadow just inches away.
Then, things get physical. The mimic laughter starts rapidly circling the outside of their tent. A heavy, unseen hand presses down on the thin fabric right beside them. Invisible fingers begin slowly, deliberately tugging at the tent's zipper from the outside. In sheer desperation, Aisha begins furiously reciting prayers aloud. As she does, the pressure on the tent stops, the laughter fades. But then, massive, heavy footsteps slowly walk away from the tent and head straight toward the camper truck where their children are sleeping. Then, from the direction of the truck, two distinct, incredibly heavy metallic taps echo loudly in the night. Ton, ton. It is a chilling, physical sign that a massive entity is standing right beside the thin metal walls protecting their sleeping children. They just keep reciting their prayers until, suddenly, every sound in the meadow vanishes at once. Section 6. The Dawn Escape. As the sun finally rises, the paranormal activity just ceases, and the family packs up and flees down the mountain in dead silence. When they finally reach safety, we're left with this terrifying juxtaposition. On one hand, you have Saqib's intense physical preparation, guns, heavy winches, medical kits, and massive tires built to conquer literally anything nature throws his way. But on the other hand, you have complete paranormal vulnerability. Against invisible mimics that can manipulate your own senses, physically drag wild animals into the dark, and perfectly replicate the voices of those you love most, all that physical preparation means absolutely nothing.
Which leaves us with this final, deeply unsettling thought to take away from this explainer on mountain folklore. Imagine you're miles from civilization, entirely surrounded by the suffocating darkness of a deep forest. If you were trapped in that dark, and you clearly heard your own voice calling out to you, would you answer?